You can sell more of your product, your services, whatever you're selling, if you actually use past memories to bring people into the now. If you'll use past memories that are positive or negative, depending on where you're moving people in the persuasion process, using those past memories will bring forth not only the memories, not only the emotion, but also even chemical changes inside of the brain. If you study neuroscience, you'll recognize dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. They're and more are like actually circulated through our conversations. Very, very powerful. So, how do you sell more products and services using past memories? We're going to jump into that. Now, there's a few things that you need to remember. Number one, when we move from a place of just facts, figures, logic, we get into more of emotional based selling, we're going to have an easier time selling, first of all. Number two, everything that we do are based on emotions. Everything that we do. One of my mentors once said, Wayne, everything we do is to have fun. If we're lazy, it's because we think it'll give us fun. If we eat something unhealthy, we think it's fun, right? And we want to change the state of consciousness we're in. That's when people have a long, hard day at work. They come back and say, wow, I've had such a long, hard day. I think I deserve a blank. What would you say they deserve? Maybe 30 minutes of mindful meditation. Maybe something very, very healthy. No, most people say, I deserve a beer. I deserve a glass of wine. I deserve, whatever it is they indulge in, a bowl of ice cream. So because that indulgence gives them a different state of consciousness to kind of escape the consciousness they're in. Does that make sense? Okay, so hold on to that thoughtful moment. And I want to ask you, I want you to think back for a moment. I want you to think back to the time, maybe it was your first, maybe for some of you, the first bicycle that you remember. I remember mine. I had bicycles before, but the one that I remember the most, I was turning 8 years old. My mother had died just a few weeks before, having a birthday party at a family member's home. And I ate my cake. I still remember it's chocolate cake. I remember this so much because it was such a mix of emotions. My mom's not here, but I walked outside and there's this bicycle. It was a black BMX Huffy bicycle. And I still remember it. Now, what happened? Did you notice I just had a mix of emotions there? I could even feel it myself. But I remember the bicycle. I remember the cake. I remember the first time getting on that bicycle, going down this gravel driveway and going, can I go into the road? We lived on this cul-de-sac. What I just did was place myself into an area of emotional excitement. Would it be easier now to persuade me to invest in something else? It may sound silly, but it would be. Because there's different chemicals taking place inside of my mind. I'm in more of an open and receptive state. So asking people about their past. Now, you don't have to go in and say, hey, do you remember your first bicycle? Yes. Oh, great. Do you want to buy my product? It's not that simple. There's a process of persuasion. But having them relive a memory, having them go into something of the past, and then using that. And we'll go through this more over the next few episodes. I'm going to get into how to use precise language to get people to move into emotional states based on positive memories, and then use those memories, anchor them into your product or service that you want to sell. Okay. Now, when we talk about moving into a place of memories, there's something called recency bias. That means the more recent something is, the more we're biased to move into that, to be led or persuaded by that. Does that make sense? Okay. So if someone sees a car accident, or if they're involved in a car accident, there's usually a place of fear, cautiousness, awareness around driving, around what other vehicles are doing. But over time, the recency bias isn't as effective, because maybe it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 decades ago that somebody had an accident. So it goes down. Same with persuasion. So I'm asking somebody. In fact, let me give you this quick little study. Recently at a university, there was a study, and they would ask people, hey, how happy are you? So they're looking like a scale, like a 1 to 10. Hey, how happy would you say you are? And then they would follow up with, hey, by the way, how many dates have you been on lately? And they would give them a number. When's the last time you went on a date? How many dates you've been on? And they would give them, the number that matched the situation. Then they went to a different set of students and they said, hey, listen, how many dates have you been on lately? They got that number and then say, gotcha, cool. Hey, could you also let us know, like on a scale of like 1 to 10, like how happy are you overall? Do you realize this? Just by bringing up the memory of the recency bias of the dates they've been on, if they ask them, how many dates have you been on first, before they asked how happy they are, and they gave a good number, hey, I went on a great date last week, I had 2 dates, whatever, then their general happiness, that number rose because they had them in a state of emotional bliss or emotional happiness, right? If, however, they said, hey, how many dates have you been on? And it was low. I haven't been on a date in a year. Oh my gosh, I'm too busy. I just can't seem to find someone, whatever. Then generally, how happy are you? That number was much lower because they were taking an emotional state that was simply from a question. But the question evoked, it elicited a mental state, and then that mental state determined their happiness. Are you with me? Okay. So if they asked ahead of time, how happy are you? And then how many days you went on, that number, how happy are you, was pretty steady all across the board. How many dates they went on had nothing to do with it. If they asked how many dates they've been on first, then it changed. This is real important when you're using past memories, recency bias. If you're asking something that's positive and encouraging, then it can be used to change the emotional state of the person, to lower resistance, to increase the level of taking risk. In fact, this is really interesting, but if you can increase the dopamine through a conversation, well, people with higher levels of dopamine or bigger risk takers. So maybe investing into your program, maybe buying your service or product is not as risky, or they see the risk from another variable. Does that make sense? Now, there's ways of doing this and you have to know, is this question I'm going to ask going to evoke a positive or negative? So you have to be very careful when you're questioning. Now, that's the part of the discovery, but also once you've asked that question, once you've got people into that state, how do you then link that or anchor that to your product or service? We're going to be covering more on that. If this is something you would love to know more about, just let me know below. Just say, hey, I would love to know more about that, Wayne. We're going to go deeper and deeper. Actually, we'll set up some private masterclasses for people where we'll go through your specific product or service. In fact, I'll say this. If you would like more information on how you could use this for your specific sales presentations, then I'll be more than happy to just send me a message. Be more than happy to connect. And again, no pressure, no pitch here, but I'd like to see if we could help you put together this in a presentation. Also, if you do need appointment setters for your business to fill your calendar, or you need closers in your business to close deals, to make money go into your bank account, then send me a message. I'll be happy to talk with you about that as well. So again, hope this has been great for you. I look forward to really just connecting and knowing more about you. Thanks for following. Hit the share button and make it a great day.